Action. Oh. Hello, my YouTube subscribers. Wow, you guys are so awesome. Thank you so much for tuning into my channel. Thank you so much for subscribing. And for those of you who have not yet subscribed, please hit the subscribe button over here or somewhere down here. Yeah, please do subscribe for more exclusive content. Bless you. Yeah, so as promised, guys, this is your boy Mkhululi, and I'm here with the first part, with the first episode in our series. So the story takes us back to a beautiful city called Bulawayo in Zimbabwe, in a beautiful suburb called Old Pumula, one of the oldest suburbs in Zimbabwe. And you know what? I've always loved to sing. Most of you might think that, okay, this guy just popped out of nowhere. We saw him on the Joyous Celebration stage, which I'm sure most of you know me from. But I didn't just pop up onto the stage and become popular just overnight. You know, it's been a journey. It's been a journey that began a long time ago. I remember this particular day when I was in grade 3 in class. I was a class monitor, so when teachers went on meetings, they would require the class monitor to maintain some kind of order in the class. So there I was standing in front of the whole class. I had to keep them entertained. I had to think of something which was pretty brilliant for a grade 3 student, grade 3 pupil, if I may say so myself. So there I was in front of the class. I remember I used to tell stories, some of them made up, of course. And I used to sing. I remember the first time I sang. I sang in front of the whole class and they clapped their hands, which got me shocked, of course, because I never thought of myself as anybody who had any talent. I grew up in a house with close to 20 people. So, you know, there was nothing really special about me in any way. Even if there was, I wouldn't have known. When there were so many other talented kids, I was not the best singer in the house. I was not the best dancer in the house. But I will tell you something. What I used to do was irritate my grandmother to the last degree, especially when we went to till the field. My granny, for some reason, had so many maize fields, which baffled me because, I think she had the most maize fields out of all her peers, which I didn't get because for me it meant more work. But now that I come to think of it, that woman was an entrepreneur. She had an entrepreneurial, what's the word? Entrepreneurial gift. Entrepreneurial gift in a way. So, you know, when I get to think of it now, I'm amazed at the way she used to think. Because at her age, trust me, my grandma has been old for as long as I can remember. At her age, she could have chosen to just spend the whole day lazing around, you know, put her feet up there. But she had a burden. She had a burden over these little children and grandchildren, you know. If she hadn't done any of that, then we would have starved. So she did her best as a parent. Yo, mighty goodness. So appreciation, special appreciation. Okay. English. So a special appreciation to my granny for doing that, for playing her part. So anyway, so there we were at the maize field. I would sing to irritate her. Imagine you would have gone to the field at 5 in the morning and my granny is still growing strong. Tibu, 10 a.m. Tibu, 12 noon. Tibu. Then I hit a tune. I would sing at the top of my voice. I think she knew that was a signal to say that I was tired. So she would literally chase me out of the field and say, okay, I think you can go home now, grandson. I think you can go home now. So music. That was really funny. So music didn't only start music didn't start making sense. Okay. Music didn't start opening doors for me now. Music started opening doors for me a long time ago. It got me off hard labor. Thank you, Lord, for this gift. I thank you, Father God. So, Anyway, I'm taken to a day again when I was still in primary school. I was in grade 6. So there was a choir at school. So every Tuesday, I think it was a Tuesday or Thursday or Friday, I don't even remember, it was a long time ago. So after lunch on that particular day, kids would do extracurricular activities. Those in the choir would go and converge in a different class. Those in the drama group would go and converge at the hall. Those in the debate club would converge in another class. So, yours truly thinking that I was smart, I would just linger around in the classroom. I would linger around in the classroom until everybody was gone, and then I would sit there doing absolutely nothing, with a bunch of my friends, my clan. We would just sit there doing absolutely nothing. And then one fateful day, this man who used to lead the musical, what do you call it? The school choir came, guns blazing, opened the door. Imagine, you can imagine that. Actually, I think I can add a horror sound there, like, and then he walked in and slapped me across the face. I was like, what happened? What happened? And then he says, I have been told of you, beautiful voice, that you've been denying this school for so many years. I am taking you to the musical, to the school choir. I was like, okay, all right. At that point, I didn't even know which part which part I could sing. I didn't know whether I was a soprano, an alto, or a tenor. So I got there and just sat with the guys. And well, the rest is history. Apart from the fact that we won every competition that I was a part of. I'm sure, of course, that was not because I was a part of the choir, but then who knows? Who knows? Those trophies. Anyway, moved to secondary school. I went to a boarding school. Now in that boarding school, it was very difficult for me to find my footing. A boarding school, it's a new environment. New faces. You just don't know where to fit in. So this particular day, I think it was the second week of my being at boarding school. I walk into the dormitory, like where we used to sleep. I walk into the dormitory thinking I'm all alone. So I started singing, "Ghetto superstar, that is what you are." Imagine me singing that song at the top of my voice. It was one of the in songs. Only kids born in the 90s. No, not even 90s. Only kids born in the 80s, which was a good decade to be born in, by the way. So shout out to everybody born in the 80s. We still love you 2000s and 90s and stuff, but shout out to my fellows. So there I was singing at the top of my voice, thinking I was all alone. Little did I know that there were some older students, like some Form 3, Form 4 pupils there. So they were like, "You are going to be our lead vocalist. We are forming an a cappella group with you, and you are going to lead us in song." I was like, wow, okay. But nothing prepared me for the joy that it would bring being a part of that group. We used to call ourselves the Harmony Brothers, a very fitting name, if I may say so myself. So, guys, it really slaps nicely. It slaps nicely when you're standing there in front of the whole school, like 500 students there in total, like in front of the whole school. And you know what makes it even sweeter? Half of them are girls. And remember, I'm 13 years old, I think. So my hormones are raging and I'm so excited to be singing in front of these girls, all of these girls. Ooh, ooh, ooh. And then I'm singing, "Lord, I'm now a child of God. I've been washed in Jesus." And then they are screaming, "Ooh, ooh, Mkhululi, MK." I'm like, oh, my goodness. Oh, anyway, yeah, let's not get carried away as we move right along. So, At that point, I think I pretty much knew the part that I'm gifted in. I knew that I was a tenor. I knew that I was a tenor. Of course, my voice could do things. I could sing soprano, I could sing alto, I could sing tenor. But that is the time I decided that I'm gonna be a tenor. I'm gonna be a tenor. So move to when? Oh yeah. So move to the time I was called to join a group in church. How do I even start this? Growing up, church, I've never been, like, I was never a fan of going to the church, you know. I grew up in one of those old mainline churches, you know, where no instruments were allowed. Well, they were not there to begin with, but they were not allowed. So, coming from those churches, I got word that a certain church in Bulawayo was looking, actually a certain group in a church in Bulawayo was looking for a replacement, you know. So I was like, okay, let me just go try my luck. So I went there, auditioned for the leader of the a cappella group, and then I got in there. So that's how I became a part of a group called the Family Voices, which is a very popular group, by the way, in Bulawayo. Oh my goodness, wow. We had such a great bond with those guys. I remember we used to be so tight. We used to be so tight, and we used to be so naughty together. We used to be naughty together, you know, and we were so good at protecting each other. We would be naughty and we would protect each other very well. So, but when it came to singing, we were very serious. We took our craft very seriously. I remember we used to do all-night sessions at some point. We'll do all-night rehearsal. When you sing until no voice comes out, you know? So, I think that should have been a turning point in my life when my love for music grew even deeper. It grew even deeper. At that point, music was no longer a hobby to me, but it had turned into some kind of a calling. Though I didn't know exactly what kind of a calling, or I didn't have any confirmation on whether it was a calling or not, but that is the time I really fell in love with singing. So, yeah. So at this point, I really believed I had made it in life, you know. Everybody began to call me by name. You know, it's really nice to be called by name in a really big church where everybody knows your name and everybody is waving at you and you're smiling and you're taking pictures with, well, there weren't really many pictures there. I'm just exaggerating a bit, but it felt good to be validated, to be known by the whole church. So, fast forward to the time I got my job, which was immediately after high school. So after high school, I got a job as a data collector. You see, my job entailed me taking down wagon numbers. Like, I would need to take down wagon numbers. I would need to walk through the yard, the train station, the yard. I used to work in cargo, basically. So my job was to record every train. And a train would be pulling like 40 wagons, you know? And I would need to record every number, record the tonnage of the wagon, record what the wagon was carrying, the engine number that brought in that whole load. It was a lot of work. I think in a day, I would walk an average of maybe 10 kilometers within the yard. That is what my job entailed. And even after that, I would still make sure that I never missed one single rehearsal with the Family Voices. So all of that is happening. I've got a job. I'm earning something. I can now afford to buy myself a pair of nice sneakers, a pair of nice jeans, and all of those. It was really beautiful. And then came a time when I heard that there was a talent search happening It was called the CBZ Academy. Oh my goodness, those were the days. Oh, wow, wow, wow. There I was auditioning for the CPZA Academy. And I wanted to, I don't really know what I would have loved to achieve from that competition. But I think I just needed validation. I needed further validation, you know. I needed further validation. I needed to find out who I was on the music streets. You know what I mean? So the year was 2007, 2006. I contested and I didn't even make it to the top 10. Oh, that was such a bummer. So after that, the following year, I contested again in the same competition, which goes to show the kind of stubbornness that I have as a human being. Imagine losing in a competition one time, and then the following year you still have the guts to go and stand in front of all those people, in front of the same judges, you know, and be rejected again. So, but it really brought me so much joy when I made it to the top 5. Now, getting into the top 5 stage meant that you would appear on TV. You would appear on TV. So imagine my joy when my name was called out as part of the top 5. I rejoiced, I celebrated. It was so, so beautiful. And the funny thing with those auditions, even with the first auditions, I never announced to anybody. I never told the people at home. I never told anybody. I never told my mom. I didn't even tell anybody. Because my plan was that, okay, what happens when I go there and I make a fool out of myself and I make a mess of things, you know? I would have rather had nobody know about my auditions, you know? Rather than going there and everybody's expecting to see me on TV and they see me getting butchered and battered on national TV. So yeah, top 5 stage. I'm living the life. I'm appearing on TV. We're staying in this beautiful house together with the other top 5 contestants. We're feeling ourselves. The whole country is chanting MK, 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 you know? It was such a beautiful time in my life, and you know, I just soaked it all in. I soaked it all in. I made the most of it. I enjoyed it. It came with its own struggles, you know. It came with its own pain. Especially, oh my goodness. I'm sure some people who were in Zimbabwe at that time would remember the big deal it turned out to be when I cried on national TV. Yep, I cried like I sobbed on national TV. And the way the presenter did it was it was savage. It was brutal. You know, he says, imagine. So the other guys have already been told that they didn't make it to the top 2. So they've been announced, okay, so-and-so, you're number 5, so-and-so, you're number 3, so-and-so, you're number 4. And then, and then I'm standing there with one other contestant there. And I'm told, MK, when I heard my name, it's as if the world stops. And there's this silence for a second and you're thinking, I have made it. So the presenter says, MK, step aside and as you make way for Joey, as we crown him. Oh my goodness, oh my goodness, oh my goodness. I cried so much. But that was all a learning curve, and I count it all joy. It was painful at the time, but I would hate to think what could have happened if I had won that competition. Because winning that competition meant that I had to sing circular music. So I would have sang circular music and I would have been stuck in that line, you know? I wouldn't be the kind of person that I am today. I wouldn't be a blessing. Well, I would love to believe I am a blessing. I would love to believe God has used me to be a blessing to you guys. I mean, I'm sure you will hit a like if you agree with that, guys. So it took a while. It took a while. After that, I was busy licking my wounds. I was busy reminiscing over the fact that I had lost. I was busy dwelling on that fact and bumping into people every now and then on the streets of Bulawayo, on the streets of my hometown. People asking me, what happened? How can you agree to be cheated? I was like, yeah, we can call it whatever we want, but I'm not going to be a sore loser. I don't want to believe that I was cheated. I genuinely want to believe that the votes were just not enough. Because when it comes to reality shows, when it comes to these competitions, everybody assumes that the next person is going to vote. And that's why you find your favorite getting eliminated, because you are assuming that there's a lot of people, there's hundreds of thousands of people voting for this guy. So that's when we need to realize that every vote counts. Every single vote counts. If you don't vote for your favorite, then your favorite won't make it. So there I was in Bulawayo, bumping into people. I was still celebrated. I loved the attention. I loved the fame. I loved it all. 2008, I hear of idols auditioning in Zimbabwe for the very first time in history. So I'm like, okay, idols, okay. So if I was cheated, according to what people were saying, some people were saying, if I was cheated, then surely idols should be an even better validation, because you get a set of other judges, you get a different audience altogether. So yeah, let me just give it a try. I auditioned for idols, and this was supposed to be a competition held in 10 countries. Countries including Kenya, Burundi, Malawi, Zimbabwe, Mozambique. Yeah, a whole lot of countries in the eastern and southern African part of Africa. So to cut the long story short, my prayer was, dear God, if I could only make it to the top 24 stage, if only I could make it to the top 24 stage, then everything will come together. And God, sure enough, lo and behold, the Lord took me through to the top 24 stage. And I was like, wow, there might really be something here. But Father, if only I could make it to the top 10 stage, because the top 10 stage is the stage that would have allowed people to appear on TV. Was it top 10 or top 12? Do forgive me, it was a long time ago, more than a decade ago. So I made it to that stage, to the voting stage. And oh my goodness, the competition was held in the beautiful country of Kenya, in the beautiful city of Nairobi. Imagine bumping into people on the streets of Nairobi and they know who you are. Some of them were trying their best to pronounce my name. They were like, Mkhululi, Mkhululi. But I enjoyed all of that. So, to cut the long story short, I was voted off at the top 6 stage, which really didn't sit well. It was pretty painful. It was a very, very, very painful period, considering the fact that in order for me to fully contest in that competition, I had to sacrifice my job. I had to leave my job. I had to resign from my job because I was spending so much time in this competition, and making it to the top 12 meant that I needed to be in Kenya for an extended period of time. So I was given an ultimatum, either to resign and give that opportunity to somebody else, or to stay at work and forget about the singing part. And I chose singing, which at that time didn't make sense to a lot of people. Even certain family members asked me, is your head correct? Is your head correct? Are you telling us that you are leaving a well-paying job to pursue this madness called music? Especially considering nobody in my family had ever pursued music as a career and made it. So it was all madness. And at the time it was painful to me, but now that I get to think back, it made a lot of sense for them to think that way, because it didn't make sense. Nobody, they didn't know of a single artist in Bulawayo, a single artist in the gospel industry in Bulawayo, a single artist in the whole of Zimbabwe who had made a successful career out of music. Well, there were a lot of people who had done that anyway, but try telling that to my grandmother. So, I'm back home now. I'm back home from Kenya. I've been eliminated on the top 6 stage. I am faced with the reality of not having a job, of not having any money. The only thing that I had was a phone that was a consolation prize from the Idols competition. So apparently all the top 10 contestants got flat screen TVs, yay, which was a plus, because, well, nobody in my family ever owned a flat screen TV at that point. Glory to God. And we got $5,000 each as a consolation prize in the top 10, which was really good. My priorities were a bit skewed at that point, and I was very immature. You know, I would have put that 5,000. Of course, it's not much, but now that I think back, I could have used that money for something a bit more productive. But peer pressure. I bought a BMW, a used BMW. For the sake of buying a BMW, they used to call it a kusheshe. They were like, buy a kusheshe, buy a kusheshe. My friends were like, buy a kusheshe so that all of us will be balling. So I bought a kusheshe, which didn't stay for long on the road. It was a nightmare. It was a nightmare. It was one thing after the other. I almost lost my life in that car when the whole electrical system just developed problems. Well, I think it had a re-insurgence of the electrical problems that had been camouflaged. You know how people are. When they want to sell a used car, they will hide all the faults. And the car started, smoke started coming out of the vents in the car. You see those aircon vents? Smoke started coming out. And me and the guys were we were balling. We were balling on that particular day. So I almost died. I had to quickly dash out, open the bonnet, and take out the fuse. I don't know how that idea came about. I just started taking out all the fuses until the fire stopped. Until the smoke stopped coming out of the vent. So anyway, that car gave me problems. Fast forward to a few months later, the car was on top of bricks. It was on top of bricks. Nobody was driving it. I remember there was a time when it developed a problem with the CV joints or something like that. The bearings. So it was on top of bricks. I decided to sell the car because what's the point of having a car and not having food? So I sold the car in order for me to get food, get food for myself, for my mom, for everybody, for my siblings who were staying with me, And after that, that's when I discovered I really had nothing left. And I could rank that as probably one of the lowest points in my life, You know, that is when I experienced my first depression. You know, when you start losing your possessions, and with the loss of those possessions, you see the friends start to distance themselves from you. And you're like, wow, okay, what just happened there? Nobody wants to associate with you when you're losing all of those possessions, because you are not the transport guy anymore. You know, you're not the food guy anymore. You are no longer in a position to take people to their favorite joint to eat pizza. You know, you are of no value to anybody, and nobody phones you, nobody calls you to check up on you to say, okay, MK, how you doing? I just called to check up on you. And when you have got everything in order, everybody is scrambling. Your phone is like a reception area. You are busy answering the cell phone this side. Hello, you are just checking up on me. Okay, hold on, ring, ring. Hello, hey, you're just checking up on me. You know, you cease to be famous. You cease to be famous. You cease to be famous. That was a very, very painful part of my life. Was I gonna make it after that? Was I gonna survive that? Was I gonna survive that? Because at that point, even suicidal thoughts started creeping in. It's so embarrassing having to stop public taxis, public transport, after bowling, after rolling in a BMW. It's one of the most embarrassing things ever. So I was thinking to myself, but Father, dear God, how could you let this happen? Like, if you love me, is this it? Is it your will for me to be embarrassed like this? Wow. And the other thing that made me even more depressed was the thought of me not ever winning any competition. I had entered the same competition twice in Zimbabwe and entered Idols in East and Southern Africa. And in all those 3 times, my name had never been called out as a winner. So it really got me thinking that, okay, perhaps I am really not good enough. Perhaps I will always be second best. Perhaps I will never win. I will never win at anything. So survival instinct kicked in at that point, and I just thought to myself, okay, where should I go? The best place for me to go is South Africa, because everybody who seems to fail at something in Zimbabwe goes to South Africa or goes to UK or goes, not even people who seem to fail. Let me rephrase that. Everybody who seeks greener pastures, everybody whose back is against the wall in Zimbabwe seems to find a bit of success when they move out of the country. So my main objective was to get out of Zimbabwe and go start in a new place, even being a waiter, even, doing any type of job to survive. Survival instinct kicked in. At that point, I didn't even want to hear anybody mention the word music to me. I didn't even want to hear anything about that, So yeah, that was a very, very low point in my life. And I remember making a decision one fateful day to say, the only thing of value I still have left is my phone. That touchscreen phone, that was a consolation prize from Idols. I said, okay, I'm going to sell this phone. If I sell this phone, then I'll get traveler's checks, which will enable me to get a visa to South Africa. And I did exactly that. And I made my way to South Africa. Now, what happened in South Africa was something was something of you know, when you move out of a place hoping that you're gonna miraculously live the South African dream. I left with that mentality of saying, okay, as soon as I get into that bus, as soon as I cross that border, all poverty is over. Okay. So for more, stay tuned for episode 2.